Hi there, my name's Vince from mymatevince.com, and in this video today it is another trying to fix video on the Nintendo Switch Lite. So I bought two of these from eBay for £199, so they're working out as £99.50 each. So very expensive, but with this one it is actually working, it's just you can't see anything on screen. So if you have a listen, you can hear that it is working, but it's useless because you can't see what you're doing. Immediately you're wondering, is it a backlight problem or is it a problem with the actual screen itself? Well, in the last video I was told about flashing a flashlight, a torch we call it in the UK, on the screen, and if you can see something then you know it's not the screen, it's the backlight. I was also told that numerous times in the past, but I've never actually done it, and yet if I shine the light on here 100% I can see YouTube. So what I'm going to do now is you're not going to be able to see it like this. So right now I can see it says YouTube here and Zelda here, so I'm going to zoom right the way in and then hopefully you'll be able to see it. Now there you go, can you see nice and clearly YouTube? So if we move it along you will see that it will, there you go, can you see it's moving along there? So we now know that the screen itself is working, and also over this side, which you're not going to see, but it says Zelda. I don't know if you can just say, there you go, you can just see it just there. Yeah, so 100% we know the LCD itself is working. It's just the fact we can't see it because the backlight's not working. So that is really useful to know, because now we know we only have to fault find the backlight, not the screen connector pins or anything like that. So let's fully turn this off, take it apart and see what's happening. We'll start from the backlight connector, working our way back and see if we can find out what's wrong with it. Now to turn it off, because I can't see the menu here, I'm just going to hold down the power button for around about 10 to 15 seconds. Then we'll flip it over, undo all the screws, and let's have a look. It might become obvious as soon as we've taken the back off. Just before we take it apart completely, I've noticed that this button here is damaged up in this corner. Can you see this corner here? It's like flattened down, yeah? So it says to me that this has been dropped. Right, okay, so it's got a bit of tape on the backlight connector here, which is not a good thing. So well, this isn't the backlight connector. The backlight connector is actually here, but this is the bit that joins this board to this board here. So let's zoom in, take that tape off, and let's find out exactly what's happening. I hope the lid off that isn't missing, because if it is, then yeah, it looks like it might well be unfixable. Yeah, it's missing, and it's also burnt here. Okay, so I think we've found our culprit. So you can see it's very badly corroded there. That's not good. Right, let's take this apart and then undo the battery. I mean, sometimes you can get away with just putting a bit of Captain tape over here, but the problem is there is actually quite a lot of force. You don't think it when you're just flipping the little lid down, but that does put quite a lot of pressure on the pins, and it can be near enough impossible to do that when you're just sticking a bit of Captain tape on it. Right, so this one doesn't look water damaged because I can see the indicators here, so I'm just wondering what was the matter with it in the first place. Also, it looks like there's corrosion. Looks like these pins here have been burnt as well. Just going to get my eye loop and have a look at these components here. Yeah, they look okay. I thought they might look a bit iffy there. On my last one I had a problem with the track going up here, and on this one the component is also missing from there, and it also looks a bit corroded here, but it doesn't look like the track's gone through. So yeah, there's a few issues on here at the moment that I'm not overly happy about, but we might well be able to clean up that burn in there and here. But first of all, let's just pop out the battery. There we go. Right, now let's take this out here. Yeah, so this cable itself really is burnt. Very badly. So we're going to have to try and clean up this ribbon cable. I don't know whether that's going to be successful or not. Also, we've got to try and clean up the connectors here. But the main problem is the fact that we're missing this lid. You see this lid here? There should be one of them here as well. So even if I clean it all up and make the tracks perfect, I'm not sure whether placing that in there is going to make a good enough connection without the lid forcing down on it. Yeah, and you see the backlight connector here as well is all burnt. So whatever it is, it's had a right surge going across that whole line, hasn't it? Seems to have burnt everything. Yeah, right now I'm not overly hopeful about fixing this one. So first of all, I think I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to see if there's continuity between here and the pins on the actual connector. Right, so the first track here goes to the second one along here. That's okay. The first one here is going to be a ground, which is that one there. The second one here is going to be the top one. Yeah. And then the third one that I had problems with before is going to be this one here. So they're actually all okay between there and the connector there. So I think what we're going to do is let's clean up the ribbon cable here, clean up the ribbon cable here, and also the backlight. And as well as that, I'm just going to get the IPA and I'm going to put it into each of the connectors to try and clean them up. I'm not going to strip the board down completely because I think the problem might well be from the ribbon cable going forward up in this direction here. So I think maybe the problem stems from here in. I could be wrong, but let's clean them up. And then what I can always do is I can always take apart another Nintendo Switch Lite, swap over this board here, swap over this cable. If it works, then we know this board is okay. If it doesn't work, we know the problem actually stems from here. This might have multiple faults on it. This might be faulty, this might be faulty, the board might be faulty, and this board might be faulty here. The whole thing might be gone. Going to get my eye loop, use my tweezers, and I'm just going to scrape away the burnt bits because there's quite a few burnt bits on these connectors. Now to clean the ribbon cables I'm going to use a fiberglass pen, and I'm just going to gently do it in line. I've got to be careful because it's very easy, especially if it's burnt, to wear it away just as the copper pins join onto this part here. Let's zoom in for this bit. Cleaned it up a bit anyway. I'm not going to go crazy on that, I'm just going to leave it as it is because it might well be working fine. If it's not, I can always come back to this later. I'm just going to do the other connectors as well. Well, I think I'm going to try it like that, and let's see if it's made any difference at all. My worry is what has caused this in the first place, because I can't see any signs of water damage anywhere. And then I'm going to put different amounts of pressure on this one here. Right, so we're on the home screen now, but you can see nothing's happening. So now let's put different pressure on here. Let's see if anything happens. No, so it's not coming to life. Right, well the thing is, see, I don't know which part of it's faulty. It could well be a motherboard problem, it could be a problem with the ribbon cable, or it could be this. So I think what I need to do is, rather than spend hours trying to work it out, why don't I just swap bits over from a working switch, and then I know then what to fault find. It might be as simple as this ribbon cable, or it might be this connector here. If I swap this board out here and it all works, I know I don't have to worry about the main board here. So I think that's what we should do. Right, so I've got this one here with a broken screen. So let's see, for all I know, the backlight on the actual screen itself might be faulty. But if this screen is fine, and let's say if I can't get the board to work, the screens are £60 to buy, so I'm not going to lose a huge amount of money by just taking the screen out of here and putting it into here. And then I will still have numerous spares on this board, even if I can't get this particular one working. So we've got this board out now, so let's swap this board into here and see if anything happens. Even the power button's corroded as well. Everything points to kind of water damage, but there just doesn't seem to be any corrosion around any of the chips. It just seems to be on all the connectors. Something looks a bit suspect there, doesn't it? I wonder, maybe has one side of this got water damaged? Maybe the very edge of it just got a bit of water on it. I think, to be on the safe side, I think I'm going to swap out this ribbon cable as well, just in case this is going to put a short on it, because I don't want to blow up my good board. Going to pop the battery connector back in. So what we have now is a completely different sideboard and a different cable down here. So let's see now if it turns itself on. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Right, so that says then that maybe, although this isn't ideal, maybe this is not the problem. Or, of course, we could have two faults. This could be the problem, and also the screen could be the problem as well. So right now, we don't know whether it's the screen or the motherboard that's causing this. As you can see, it's definitely not this. Well, it could be this cable, but with a working cable and a working sideboard, we still have no backlight. So it might well be the screen itself. So unfortunately, I think I'm going to have to swap the screen next. Looking at this here, I can see that this has been ripped here, so it's definitely already been stripped down. Can you see around here? This is gone. So somebody's already looked at this, which we already knew because there was already masking tape on here. But whoever looked at this now might well know that the screen itself is faulty. And if the screen's £60 to replace, which it currently is, that's from a UK buyer. There's one for £58. You can get them cheaper if you go direct to China. But yeah, they might have deemed it not economically viable to repair this, especially that we've got a break in this one here as well with the lid. And even this has been apart here because the wire's in the wrong place. Should be at a little bit there. So the problem is, when you're not the first person in, it's always going to be much harder to fix anything. It's a shame as well, because if, I know it's never going to happen, but if everybody was just honest, and it would save a load of time. So for example, if somebody already knows that the backlight's gone on the actual screen, then it would save me having to fault find this for an hour. So although somebody along the line somewhere is making an extra £50, it means that the amount of money that's been wasted in time from each person along the chain is amazing. Right, so I'm looking at this board, and the board itself does look perfect. I can't see any sign of water damage there at all. Unless, of course, would it be possible that if it was dropped, could something have shorted on the actual backlight itself, which then sent the surge kind of the other way, burning all the components? You know, if something was shorting out in the actual backlight. I wonder if that's what's happened. Right, so I'm going to take the motherboard out of this one now. I'm going to swap them over, see if this works with the cracked screen. And also I can put my motherboard into here and then see if it comes on or not, and then we know definitely whether it's the screen here or not. Loads missing from it, but this is the board that we got from eBay just now, with the good sideboard here from the cracked switch and the screen from the cracked switch. So let's see what happens now. Let's plug it in and let's turn it on. This will tell us or not if the motherboard is okay. Okay. So look, the motherboard is not okay because we haven't got any display. So let's put the volume up. There you go, nothing happening at all. So we've got a problem with the motherboard, but yet there still could be problems with other things as well. So now I'm going to put my good board, the known working board, into this one here and see if the screen's working. If the screen does work, that would be fantastic for me, because at least then it means out of 2 of them I'm going to have one fully working Nintendo Switch Lite. So let's get this one together now. Right, so we've got my good board, my good sideboard on the Switch that we don't know whether the backlight's working or not. So let's turn it on, see what's happening. Excellent. Okay, so we have got a screen. Right, that's brilliant, because now it means that I don't have to spend £60 to get this one to work. But I want to find out, yeah, that looks fine. Right, that's brilliant. But I want to find out now exactly what does and doesn't work. So I'm going to start to swap components over to find out exactly what is faulty. Maybe it's just the motherboard here, in which case then maybe we can fault find it further. But if the motherboard's faulty and the ribbon cable here and the side one here, then really the Switch might as well be just used for spares. But at least this is working, because now it means that at least I can get this one fully working, because it won't have the cracked screen anymore. I'm really happy with that. What we have here is the faulty sideboard, remember, with the missing lid on this thing here, but we have got the good link cable. So let's plug this back in and let's see if it's going to work or not. Then if it doesn't, I'll apply pressure here and see if it starts livening up then. Okay, so as you can see, it's not working. So let's apply a little bit of pressure here, see if it comes to life or not. No. Yeah, right. So that's not going to work. I'm going to try to bend it up a little bit. No. See, I don't know whether it's just a connector or whether there's other things on it. So it looks like we've got a fault with this side one here and the motherboard as well. So I'm wondering, is there any actual point in taking it any further? Because I haven't got a lid for this. I haven't got the connector for it. Not really much I can do on that, is there? I'm just going to have a think about this for a minute and work out what I'm going to do. Right, I think I'm probably going to have to give up on this, but I'm going to do a little bit more work. I might not film it all. So what I've done now is I've just swapped over the link cable. So I've got the bad link cable in here, and as you can see, we've lost the connection. So what I'm going to do is take that link cable out. I'm going to give it a good clean this time, get all the pins perfectly clean, and then at least I know the link cable's okay. But now at this moment in time, it looks like the link cable's gone, the sideboard's gone, and also the main motherboard as well. Right, just to update you what I'm doing along the way. So basically this is the faulty ribbon cable that connects the main board to the sideboard. I've gone across all of them. They're all working apart from one tiny little one here. So because there's just a one, I am going to try to repair that. Now I know it's broken on this side because what I've done is this side looked like this side didn't look quite as good as this side, so I just scraped away a bit of the actual golden bit here, and now if I was to go between, for example, here and this side, I now have continuity between there and there, but yet I haven't got it on the actual pin. So there's a tiny little break here, so I'm just going to show you that, and that's the bit I'm going to try and repair. So if you have a look here, you can see I've exposed this bit here, and there's just a tiny little break between here and here. So I just need to get a little bit of copper between here and here, and then I'll put a little bit of UV mask, not covering the pin, just over this bit here. Then I'm thinking that this little connector will be okay again. Could be pointless because you might be able to buy these for next to nothing, or certainly in a year's time you'll be able to buy them for next to nothing. But I'm not going to be able to get the switch working, so what I'm going to do is just try to get as much working as possible. So the problem I've got is that I'm not going to be able to get that connector to do what it needs to do because there's so many pins in it, and you need to have pressure on all of them going down to actually make contact with the ribbon cable. Yeah, and that's something that Captain Tape is not going to be able to do. So I won't be able to get this working, but let's say now if I can find out what's wrong with the motherboard and fix things like this, then I'll be happy. Well, that took a long time, but I have managed to get continuity from one side to the other, and it's not shorting it against the other pins now. So yeah, there is continuity going from there to there, but it was very hard. I'm going to get some UV mask now and just put it over this bit here, and then hopefully this cable might work again. Okay, so that looks like it's gone hard now, so now I'm going to put this one into here and let's see if it's working. Hey, success! We fixed something. Alright, so look at that there now, and that is with the dodgy cable. Can you see what the green splodge there? So, do you know what? That's really helped me now. I'll tell you why. Because we now know that the backlight doesn't work if it's just on that one tiny pin on that corner there. Now, if we go back to the faulty board, what do we have on that tiny little pin? We have a lovely, nice little scorch mark there, don't we? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to keep scraping in that scorch mark with my little tweezers to try to get rid of the corrosion from the pins. I mean, it's so hard to see, but maybe the pins are missing. But if they're there, if I can clean them, it could be as simple as the fact that it's just burnt there rather than one of the components failing. So that's what I'm going to work on now. Starting to make progress now, so I haven't got onto the actual fault finding yet. I'm just trying to understand how the backlight works. So we know that this is the connector here. We know that the tracks travel down into this ribbon cable here, they go across and into this thing here. So I've been taking some readings. This is the working switch at the moment, which is live. I've been taking some readings while it's live on the pins here, because there's 4 pins, and also more importantly on the capacitors just above here. Now check this out. So this is the connector, the backlight connector. We're talking about this one here. So the power one's up here, let's ignore that. So the bottom pin is ground. The second pin up, which is the track on the left, is 0.3 volts. The track in the middle goes to the top, that's still 0.3 volts. But check this out. This track here going up on the right hand side to that pin there, so the third pin up, is 17 volts. Wow, so you can see now why it caused so much charring. So I've checked that on the faulty motherboard and nothing's happening there. So obviously it's not a connection problem there, as we already knew because we've swapped the boards around. So now I've gone onto this connector here, which is this one here. Now unfortunately the pins are so fine, even my very thin, sharp probe leads here are too big for it. But I've been measuring the capacitors above it, and check this out. That capacitor up there is 0.3 volts and 0 volts. This one here at the top is 0 volts and at the bottom 0.3 volts, but this is the important one. So this tiny little one, I don't want to touch it because this is all live, but this tiny little one just here, yeah, this little one here. On the left hand side is 0 volts, but on the right hand side is 17 volts. So that's perfect, and that's where the burn-in is on the board on the other one. So what I need to do now is I need to liven this one up. This is the one with the burn-in on it, and I need to see if we've got 17 volts on the right hand side of the capacitor. If we have, we then know that it's a problem with the link cable going across. So in theory I might be able to just put a wire from this side of the capacitor right the way over to the board here, and in doing so it will bypass this connector. None of the controls on this side will work because remember the connector here is not working, but still it would be fun to see what's happening, you know, just fault finding it bit by bit. So I'm going to fire this one up now and I'm going to see what voltage we have on the capacitors here. Well, unfortunately we haven't got anything on the capacitors. I was hoping it was going to be a fault with the ribbon cable. Funny enough, we haven't got anything on any of the capacitors, so we haven't got the 0.3, the 0.3 or the 17. So if you have a look now, if I go onto that one there, this capacitor here should be 0.3. It's not reading anything. The bottom of this one should be 0.3. It's not reading anything. And more importantly, this one here should be 17 volts and it's not reading anything. So the problem is before that connector, which is interesting. So I'm just going to keep fault finding, see if I can work out where it goes back to now before this. So things are starting to get interesting. So we know that we should have 17 volts on this little capacitor here next to this connector. But yet we haven't, so I've been trying to trace it back, and if I put my meter to continuity, then what we have is there's a path. I mean, it could be going halfway around the board, but there's a path between that little capacitor there and that side of the diode there, and also this capacitor here. Now watch this capacitor here is shorting top and bottom. So that's not right. Also, that diode is giving me a reading both ways when I put it onto diode test. So what I'm going to do is, oh, and as well as that, look, this thing here, which looks like one of those little coils, there's no path between it. So I think there's numerous components right around here that have blown. So what I'm going to do to start with is I'm going to take off the capacitor here and then see if I get a different reading on that diode. So let me just show you, I'll zoom out and I'll show you the diode reading. Yeah, and now if I put the black lead on the left hand side, it's reading 0.22, okay? But if I go onto my good board, which is here, it's only giving me a reading one way. So red lead on the left hand side, can you see nothing? Black lead on the left hand side, it gives me a reading. If I put it to continuity, on this capacitor it only shorts on the bottom, not the top, and this little coil here is shorting. Yeah, so there's a path through it. So it looks like there's quite a few things that are wrong. Now, there might be loads of other things as well. So from this little capacitor, let me zoom right in and show you where it goes. Well, it's so hard to see because it's absolutely tiny, but basically on this capacitor, that's where we want the 17 volts. It just goes just as far as here. Let me get the light on it. There, it just goes just as far as here. So it goes from that pin, that capacitor there, just to the pin here, and it goes through the board. But I can't see it coming up on the other side because remember, this is a multi-layer board. There's going to be loads of different layers on it. So I don't know where it comes out to. But I definitely know that it does eventually somehow work its way up to this area here. Yeah. So I have continuity between here and here. So I could be lucky and it could just be these components here, or maybe it goes via a chip on the other side of the board. And up to here and that side of the diode. So I think to start with I'm going to take off this capacitor and see what that does, and then take it from there. Put a bit of flux on this capacitor, remove it and see what happens. Right, let's see now if the pads are shorting. Yeah, so the pads are shorting, you see, so something else is causing that to short. Let's just go across the capacitor. It's just off screen. Let's bring it up here. No, so that's okay. Yeah, so what's causing that to short? Okay, I'm going to have a very close look at this because I don't want to just take off all the components if it's going to be a chip on the other side. Right, so I've been trying to trace it from the top of this capacitor here, but on my good board, on the working board here, so I'm not getting any false readings, and trying to trace it to the other side, and the only point I can get it to is this little test point here, but that's no good to me because I still can't see where that goes to, because again it's a multi-layer board. Remember, there's no schematics for these obviously. The only thing I can think of is there's definitely ground going into this because that's connected to here. I'm wondering if this is the chip that controls maybe the voltage or something. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this because I want to know why it's shorting to ground here. So if I remove this and the short goes, then the chances are it was, well, I don't know, hopefully it means that it was this that was causing it, but again it could be before that, couldn't it? But I think I'm going to remove this one next. Annoying, that's a ball grid array, I wasn't expecting that. Okay, but I should be able to get it back because it's there's not that many of them. Was there 9 balls there? But still, they're not easy. Right, let's see now if the short's gone. No, it hasn't. What is causing it? Can't be this because that's not going to ground anyway. See, I don't know what chip controls the backlight here. See, everything on the backlight shorted. I'll tell you what, unless there's this little capacitor here. Let's take that one off. No, it's still there. Right, I've sort of gone beyond the... I'm getting close to not being able to get the things back. If I take off too many things, I'm not going to be able to get them back again. Don't know what to do on this one. Well, I think the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get the microscope and I'm going to have a look in this connector here, just in case the pins have shorted in here, because that would also put a short to ground up here, wouldn't it, if the pins were shorted here. Fighting a losing battle here. So the thing is, it's annoying because this is working, but yet because the backlight is not working, the thing itself is useless. Now, it'd be different if I had, for example, 17 volts here and then nothing here, because I could just put a jumper wire from here going across to the backlight connector and then chances are it would work. But the thing is, I've got a short on that backlight rail, so there's nowhere to take the 17 volts from because it's not generating 17 volts. Now, I've taken various components off here. I can't see any of the other ones that are left causing it because this capacitor here is actually working. These are just diodes, they're not going to ground anyway. So now I can't find it going to anywhere else on this board here. I've been putting a tone here and trying to tap every single other thing to see if I can find it, so I can't. So now we know on this connector here that we've got 17 volts on this little side here, and then we've got ground next to it here, which is where the capacitor was. And look, we have got a lot of burn in here, so do you know what I'm thinking about doing? Even though it will mean it's game over for this board because I haven't got any of these connectors to put on, I'm thinking about putting some heat from underneath the board and try to take this connector off to see if the fault goes away. If the fault goes away, we know that something has melted and shorted together in here, because when I put my multimeter on it is short in here, because it would do, because everything else is short in here. I mean, I've had a look at the microscope, I can't see any pins touching together, but it's so hard to see because we have so much burning going on in here. So I think before I start messing with any other chips, I think that would be the most sensible thing to do, because at least it means in the future when these become available, I mean they might already be available now, it means that I might be able to repair this board, you know, 6 months down the line or something. That's of course if I can get that little BGA chip back on there. Right, so I've raised it up now so I can get the heat right underneath it. So I'm just obviously heating up the board from underneath, and that way then I might minimise the chances of burning this. There we go. Well, that came off nicely. I can see a little black mark on the board here. Let's zoom in right now and see what it looks like. There we go. Out there. Right, well, unless the fault was with the connector itself, that definitely wouldn't have caused a short. Let's see now if we've still got that short on it. Fingers crossed. Excellent, it's gone. Brilliant. So it was the connector. It was the connector that was causing the short. Look, it's completely gone now. Right, okay. Well, I'm going to try and put the other components back on, and then we'll take a closer look at this connector. Okay, so now I've got all the components back on. I have to clean it up, but look. Now you see, if I go between a ground and this little capacitor here, see it's only on one leg, and here, yeah. Right, so I'm going to clean it, then I can get a reading off that diode. But as far as I know, this thing here should still have resistance across it, unless of course I'm just not getting onto the pads enough, which is possible. Maybe these things are very easy to blow. Oh, here we go. Maybe it is working. Yeah. It's just so hard because there's so little pads there. Okay, that looks like it might be okay. Right, let's see what this diode is testing now. Okay, that is 0.18. And nothing. So I'm pretty convinced now, I'm almost positive that the fault was with this little connector here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a real close look at this connector, see if I can see what's going on at the bottom of it, see if I can see any obvious signs of burning, and then we can take it from there. Right, so I've got the little connectors just soaking in there. I mean, I can't see anything wrong on the outside, but who knows what's happening on the inside. It was definitely causing the short, wasn't it? So now what I'm going to do is I am going to, obviously I can't connect up this side here, so I can't turn it on via the button, but if I plug in the power supply into it, that should liven the switch up. And now I'm going to see if we have any voltage coming through now on that capacitor. So let's plug it in here, and now let's plug in the charger here, and that should turn it on. 1740, now it should go to 0. There we go, excellent. And now it should go up to 1. Yeah, there we go. Right, so this now should be on, so let's have a listen. Excellent, it's on. There we go, perfect. Right, so now let's unplug this and let's see if we can get any voltage reading from here. Wouldn't it be great if there was 17 volts there? Right, here goes. So we need to be on the right hand side. No. No, we haven't. Right, let's check the other capacitors. So this should have 0.3 volts. No. Oh, I thought we might be able to see 17 volts there. No, okay. I wonder, was it the BGA that I've removed, or whether something's blown or not. Oh well, there's no point in messing around, is there? There's no point in messing around with the connector, because we still haven't got 17 volts coming through, and I really don't know what else to do now. I don't know what's generating it. Unfortunately, this is going to have to be one for the future, I think. Do you know what I'm going to do just before I give up completely? Just in case it has to travel through to travel back or something, I'm going to disconnect the cable from the working motherboard and still see if we have 17 volts there. If we do, then 100% we know that there's something on this board that's still faulty. Right, so we're going to do exactly the same with the good board here. So I've plugged that in there, get the power supply, turn it on. Again, it's going to go to 0. There we have it. Right, okay, so that should be turned on now. Didn't plug a speaker into it. Right, okay. Now let's see if we have voltage on that backlight. That's interesting. Right, so we've got 3.7 volts, but that's still different than before. Let's check the other capacitors. Nothing there. Nothing there. .7. Right, okay. But it's still not registering nothing, is it? On the other one, what was it? Minus something. Minus 1 volt or less than 1 volt. Okay, so it's many hours later, and let me tell you what I found out here. So 100%, the connector on here was putting a short on it. I couldn't get to the bottom of what was wrong with the connector, but I tried cleaning it out and stuff. It must be the pins on the inside. I looked through my microscope, but I couldn't see that. But that connector 100% was putting a short on the line. But remember, we still weren't getting any voltage on the capacitor, which I was worried about. Now, I suspected this little coil here, but when I tested it earlier, it definitely shorted top and bottom. But I'm wondering whether my multimeter was hitting against something else, because now, when I look at this coil here, it's not testing anything when I go across it. It's completely open. So what I've done is, I've just temporarily just stuck a little bit of thin wire going between here and here. So I've taken the coil off, and I've just put a little loop of wire there. Now watch this, this is interesting. So now, if we get our... 1 second, let's just disconnect the fan then. Right, if we get our meter now and set it to voltage, now listen, it's... Yeah, it is, the switch is live. Now remember the other one was reading 3 point something volts when it wasn't connected. Now obviously I can't connect the ribbon cable because the connector's not there anymore, but check this out now. If I go this side of the capacitor, down at the bottom, look what it reads, 3.7. So basically, all I would have to do is get a connector and a coil, and then this motherboard should be okay. The problem is, I don't know what coil it is, and also I don't think I can get the ribbon connectors either. But definitely down the line I will be able to get it. The coil, I've had a good look on a Nintendo Switch one, and I can't find anything that matches it. I mean, it would be something I presume like this one here, but this is far too big for it. So yeah, unfortunately this board is going to have to be saved for a later date. But once I get a new connector and the coil, I'm pretty confident that this motherboard will be working okay then, because we've got 3.7 volts. I reckon when that is connected through to there, I reckon then, just like the other one, when it's connected up, I reckon 17 volts will arrive at that one there. So I'm really happy that I did that final bit of fault finding. And also, this switch itself here is now working fine. So although I wasted £100 on this, I saved £60 on buying a screen here. So I'm only £40 down, and I've got all the spares on here, you see. And as well as that, this motherboard here would definitely be worth £40 once I get it fixed. And I'm quite confident now, by adding heat underneath, that I would be able to get a new connector on there. So I'll check online, because they might already exist, but I still don't know what coil this is here, because I can't find any markings on the top of it at all. It just looks like smooth, it's just like smooth metal. So I don't know how I would know what coil that is. But I'm sure in the future I'm going to get a water damaged Nintendo Switch Lite, in which case then all I've got to do is take the components off that, put it on here, and hopefully then this board will be up and running again. So yeah, I'm happy with that. Apologies for the long video, but there was quite a lot to it. I have been on this for more than half the day, so but I'll try to edit it down to something watchable. But yeah, I enjoyed it, and at the beginning I had 2 switches that weren't working, and now I've got one working because I used the screen from it. So yeah, that's good. Again, will I be able to get this one working? Yes, if I can get a connector here, then I can get the connector on here as well. So this board won't go to waste either once I get the connectors sorted out. Tried my best on this, and I've taken it as far as I can take it. So yeah, that is it for this video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up, and please subscribe for more Trying to Fix videos. Take care. Bye now.